Red FM.
When you look at the watch and time is up and you're 3 points ahead, 3 points isn't enough to be ahead, but at the same time you're kind of half feel that you're there, and obviously they weren't there, and as it turned out, as we saw in this morning's paper, there's 3 championships now that Cork have conceded a goal in the last puck of the game, and the other 2 they've lost, so this is the 3rd one, so I hope it doesn't continue that they lose the 3rd one,
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, John, I'd have thought that Cork might welcome the extra game if they do win this weekend, because it's still a 4-week gap to the All-Ireland semi-final. But I heard Daithí Regan saying this week that Cork wouldn't have wanted that extra game. He was saying that there's enough mileage on the clock as it is. Would you go along with that?
Well, yeah, if they're to lose this weekend, they're playing again next weekend. There is a lot of mileage on the clock. A lot of the fellas have been there since 2003, some of them there since 99. A 6-day turnaround for Ben and for the fellas who have been there a long time, is not much, And Waterford probably have a younger team, barring Tony Brown. It probably will suit them a bit more. The extra game, I suppose, you can never underestimate what games do and what you find out in games. And while Cork wouldn't want to have the game end in a draw, at the same time, they'll find out something more again this weekend. Last weekend, you were going to the game, I suppose, buoyed up by the performance against Tip, but at the same time, you didn't really know how good your forwards were, because your forwards had been, quite poor in the second half of the league final. So how good they are they as good as they are against Tip, or as poor as they are against Galway? We'll probably find out on Sunday or on Saturday night, where, we'll need a big step up on the performance of the forwards,
Yeah, and looking at the Cork starting lineup, John, I think everyone is surprised to see Sean Hogan there, because we heard all week that it was a bad enough hamstring injury he picked up last weekend. If he doesn't actually start, John, who do you see coming in there? Ray Ryan is probably the obvious choice, given that he came on last week, but there might be some juggling around as well with someone like Larkin McLaughlin or Shane Murphy, perhaps.
Possibly, yeah. I'd say if Sean Hogan doesn't start, I'd say he won't start. I suppose if you were to look at the under-21 match the other night, so William Egan would be the player I'd have faith in. He was very good at centre back and very strong and good under the ball. What they'll do, I don't know. They might move Shane O'Neill out wing back and bring Shane Murphy, who's a very good, tight, experienced cornerback, into the corner. But I suppose that remains to be seen. But I doubt very much if Sean Hogan will start,
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael Cusson as well, John, comes in for his first championship start. Cork probably struggled in the half-forward line last weekend, and Cusson gives a very different option there.
Well, I suppose, not enough of the ball. The 2, as it turned out, the 4 corner forwards last Sunday were taken off. The corner forward is normally the fellow who suffers most and is taken off most. Mm-hmm. First, but not enough of the ball went into the corner forwards. If the ball was going in, I suppose Saki is the target man, and rightly so, and given his height and his strength and so on. Fraggy and Pat Horgan just didn't see enough of the ball. I'd nearly be for moving Pat Horgan out. Pat Horgan is a good scorer. We all know he's a fantastic striker at the ball, and he just needs to see a bit more of the ball, and he didn't see enough of the ball the last day. And whether that was the half forward's fault, I don't think actually it was. I suppose the ploy of playing Jerry O'Connor at centre forward with a roving commission didn't work the last day, because Brick Welsh held the centre. That could have gone the opposite way, where Brick Welsh holds the centre and Jerry gets a point or two, and next thing Brick Welsh has to go out of it, and that's has to move after him. It didn't happen the last day, and Brick Welsh shored up the centre, and Jerry just wasn't effective. Niall Mack played quite well the last day. Ben, I suppose, was below what we expect from Ben O'Connor, but at the same time, while our backs were so good, letting the ball in quicker probably needs to be what they need to do the next day, and ensure that the inside forwards are played more often than they were,
Yeah, 2 of the guys you mentioned there, John, you mentioned Brick Walsh playing very well last weekend for Waterford at centre back, and Niall McCarthy as well. Now, the starting lineup suggests that Niall has been moved into centre forward and that he'll be in on top of the Brick Walsh. Can you talk to us about Niall McCarthy, John, because he's been arguably Cork's best player of the championship so far. He looks fitter than ever at the moment, and he's obviously a guy you know a lot about.
He is. Niall is the ultimate competitor. He's as tough as nails. He's brave. When he's in form, he's a great player. We saw him getting man of the match in the All-Ireland in 04. Mm-hmm. Played a very good final in 05. Has been, an ever-present in the Cork team. Is very valuable when he's in form. was in form last Sunday, caught some good ball. I suppose the big problem last Sunday was that was particularly in the first half where Waterford crowded it so much that their half forwards came out. There was very little space when possession was won, so Niall was under pressure when he did win the ball. But like Niall McCarthy playing well is a very valuable player, and Niall McCarthy can score. As I said, he's brave. He's a very hard worker. It probably is a good idea to put him into the centre and match, because while Ronan Curran did get man of the match and Ronan Curran had a great game, Brick Welch was equally as good, and even nullifying him would be a great job the next day if Niall was able to do that and to stop him from dominating the game, So I would expect a big game from Niall on Saturday night.
Yeah, and in terms of Waterford, John, how highly do you rate this current team in relation to the sides maybe say that you played or that your own team played against during your time involved?
Well, there certainly wasn't, if in terms of possession and in terms of work rate and in terms of dominating the game. I mean, Waterford certainly had 50-50, if not more, the last day. And you didn't have Ken McGrath starting, you didn't have Seamus Prendergast starting, you didn't have Dan Shannon starting. And yes, they were every bit as good as Cork. And the players that they now have playing that weren't playing back then, the likes of Noel Connors or Jamie Nagle or Malumphey or Kevin Moore. I mean, they're all good players, and they've slotted in nicely, and they wouldn't be playing unless the management in Waterford thought they were good enough to play. So, I would rate, having seen the last day, they're certainly every bit as good as Cork, and Cork will have to play way better than they did on last Sunday to overcome them.
Yeah, it was a very tight battle last weekend, John. Very tense and edgy compared to previous games between the teams. What kind of game are you expecting this weekend? Will it be something similar?
Well, I suppose replays normally don't follow the game that was drawn. There probably will be a different dynamic to the game, given that Michael Cusson is a big man, will be a target for puck-outs. Doubting that Sean O will be playing again. There'll be a different dynamic there. So I think the game will be different. I'm sure Cork will play an orthodox six forwards, I would say, with Niall Mack holding the centre. You'll see a different game. You'll probably see more hurling in the game. Now, having said that, the Waterford tactics the last day worked, where they held the centre, their forwards played deep, they left John Mullane inside. Whether they'll do that again, I'm not sure, but I would expect to see probably a more open game. But, who knows? The Cork and Waterford have, there's only been a puck ball. I mean, they've played, was it 10 times in the past 9 years, and it's 4 wins each and 2 draws, and very little in any of the games. Even in 2007, where Cork were missing the Semple Gate 3, as they were called, still put it up to Waterford. Still, the game was only closed out in the last minute, and the game in Dublin, then a month or two later, ended up in a draw, and Waterford only barely won the next day. 2006, you only had a puck of a ball. 2005, 2004, so I'd expect the same again. There'll be very, very little in it, I would say, Paul. Yeah,
just very finally, John, to put you on the spot, what is your prediction for this weekend?
Well, I mean, I suppose knowing the players so well, my heart is saying Cork. My head is certainly not saying it as much. I just think that they're going to be under pressure. Their forwards will certainly need to up the ante. I'm hoping that their forwards will play better than they played last day, and if they do, I would expect them to win. But it's a hesitant vote.